Click their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com to schedule your appointment.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome into WTIM, your information station. Time now for the WTIM Morning Show. Thanks so much. Live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. You can find us on Facebook at Taylorville Daily News and on YouTube at WTIM TV. On the phone line now, we have Dr. Ken Redfield, Professor Emeritus of Political Science from the University of Illinois. Doctor, last time we spoke, there was a lot of things up in the air. Now we have some answers. How have things been for you since?
Oh, just fine. Things have finally calmed down. It's be able to enjoy the holidays and probably back into it after the first of the year when it really starts to heat up on both the national and state level. But so happy to have it over. Long, hard campaign, unfortunately.
It was. And when we talked about burnout and all the things that come from a long, drawn-out campaign like that. But let's get started talking about the numbers here from our national election. A lot of people like to throw around the term landslide a lot. But break down what a landslide truly is, historically, and what these numbers this year have shown you.
Yeah, historically, you're talking about, huge margins in the popular vote. Lyndon Johnson won 61%, Nixon 60%, Reagan, in his first election, 50 or second election, 59%. So those are big margins. When you talk, Trump won the popular vote, and that's ahead of where he was in 2016 when he, won the Electoral College, and then for 2 years he had. He really did never have the kind of, working majority through all of the term that he needed. So he's in a much stronger position than 2016, but it isn't by historical standards. It isn't it isn't a landslide. And mandate is in the eye of the beholder. It's a mandate if you can do it. If you claim that you have all of this, tailwind to do all these great things, and then nothing happens, then that really wasn't a mandate. So you really have to kind of wait till after the fact to see, whether or not somebody can president can make good on it.
Sure. So it's showing 49.9% going to President-elect Trump there. But he won the 7 battleground states, many of them there, and then Senate and House there. How much did that really go into that 49%?
Well, he was stronger at the top of the ticket than so in Wisconsin and Minnesota and Michigan, you had Democrats that got an open seat or got reelected. So the Republican candidates ran behind the president. President-elect did not win. In Arizona and Nevada, the same thing. You had what looked like strong Republican challengers, and both of those seats went to the Democrats. So it did not carry down ballot as strongly as sometimes you get. Sometimes you really can see it in both the congressional and the senatorial, and even down at the gubernatorial level. And the Democrats did much better. Although again, the Republicans picked up 4 seats in the Senate and held their very narrow majority in the House. So obviously it wasn't a terrible night for the Democrats, but and you'd rather be in the Republican shoes, but the Republicans, the Democrats it could have turned out a lot worse if this would have been kind of a real landslide in terms of, a big shift, realignment kind of election. Way too early to talk in those kinds of terms.
Okay. Well, let's talk some of those key issues, the topics these candidates were running on that got their parties out into the polls there. Let's start with Republicans, and what really was it that they were hammering in on there?
The overarching theme was change. Things are bad. We need a new person, and then, look how great my presidency was, before the pandemic hit. And so you got that general theme. Then, what was at the top of voters' minds was the economy and inflation, the price of groceries, price of eggs, all of those sorts of things, and then immigration. And those were two themes that the Republicans, that President-elect Trump's campaign hit very, very strongly. And, Harris, Vice President Harris was in a position of kind of saying, she had trouble differentiating herself and from the president. And, the Trump campaign made a point of, the Biden-Harris administration. And so they just, tried to take everything that people didn't like or about the last 4 years and lay it at her feet. And obviously, it had an impact because, she got significantly, almost 2 million, almost 7 million less votes than the Biden got 4 years ago when Trump got almost 3 million more. So that's a pretty significant shift.
Yeah. A lot of voters out there talked qualifications. Donald Trump had a presidency under his belt right there. Harris served in all three branches of government. What do you have to say on qualifications between the two candidates there?
I don't think people were, when you were talking 2016, you said, well, this person is, they were talking about, Trump as a candidate. Well, he's never held public office. And so that really was not an issue. These, Harris had won state attorney general, elected statewide, U.S. Senate. So and whether or not you think that the baggage that President-elect Trump has should weigh on those kinds of, that seemed to have been discounted, certainly in terms of his, his supporters. Sure. And so I don't think, that was not why Harris was not successful. She couldn't differentiate herself and make a strong case for why she was changed, why she was the person you should trust to get us out of what is, economic problems, immigration problems, and, obviously two very bad situations in Ukraine and the Middle East. And so, it came down to, the margin, which was small, less than a point and a half now as we get even more numbers. Trump had enough, was up to sway enough voters, to move enough voters that, he ended up, both carrying the popular vote and the Electoral College.
Sure. Now, let's talk a little bit about messaging on the Democratic side. What went wrong and what went right for them?
Well, they never got a clear message about how they were going to fix the economy. Not that it hasn't, we've had economic growth, inflation, nationally, big number is down. Yeah. But, people were really feeling the last particularly 2 years in terms of what they saw at the grocery store, what was happening to their rents, the basic, blue collar cost of living, middle America, and you never really got, a strong message about how we were going to fix this. And, in contrast, the Democrats were standing pat on health care. It's expensive, but that's a huge problem, but people are pretty satisfied. The president, when pressed in a debate, the best he could come up with is, well, I have a concept of a plan, but that, voters did not penalize him for not having, something that would make the health care better. People, that wasn't why they were at the polls. They wanted to know about, cost of living, inflation, immigration, those were the big issues. And so, and she was not able to really differentiate herself. The short time period was also a problem. Normally a nominee, when they get to the National Convention, they've been running for office for more than 2 years in terms of a presidential campaign. And she was, had about 2 weeks. And so, she was definitely at a handicap. But it really got down to on the swing voters, on the voters that were not hardcore base voters. It really got down to who's talking to me about my immediate concerns.
And I feel like there was a lot of reaching out there and just a lot of nuance to the reasons Democrats lost here. But I mean, I was wondering if you agreed with this sentiment. It could be as simple or as boring as, people voted on the economy and simple stuff as that. We don't need to be thinking too far into, further messaging than that.
No, that Clinton's, political advisor, James Carville, that's where it's the economy, stupid, was the sign that he had. And, you focus on, what's the bread and butter, kitchen table kinds of things. And when you've got an unpopular president in relative terms and a lot of problems in terms of people's, both the reality and the perception of the economy, that's a lot of headwinds to overcome. And clearly, she didn't.
Absolutely. And these conversations just so interesting as these numbers continue to get analyzed, and we continue to find the directions both of those parties move into. And we're going to be having a new administration incoming very soon. It's Dr. Kent Redfield on the line right now, Professor Emeritus of Political Science from the University of Illinois. Let's talk a little bit more about local government. We come back from this break. Thanks so much to our live stream sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, in Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. We'll be right back here on WTIM, your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Follow the Taylorville Lady Tornadoes basketball team this season on 96.5thechill.com. On air and streamed online. Hear all the Lady Tornado games, home, away, and playoffs this season on 96.5thechill.com. On air and online. Sponsored by Taylorville Memorial Hospital, CNB Bank and Trust, Dan Rizzo with American Family Insurance, and Specialized Hearing Solutions, all in Taylorville.
Taylorville Tornadoes are going to do it today.
This is Bill Pinkston, General Sales Manager at Landmark of Taylorville. Stop in today and harvest some huge savings on the final 2024s. Right now, you can save $11,000 on a new Silverado RST. Prefer a GMC Sierra? Current GMC owners can save over $12,000 on a new GMC Denali. Need a redesigned fuel saver? You can save over $5,000 on a Buick Encore GX. Plus, we have over 350 pre-owned vehicles in our family dealerships. And with our lifetime powertrain warranty, why would you buy anywhere else? Shop us day or night at landmarkattaylorville.com. And remember,
you always do better at Landmark.
The Miller Media Group invites you to help those less fortunate during our 32nd annual Food for Families Drive. In Taylorville, bring your non-perishable food items to benefit the Taylorville Food Pantry at 1429 East Main Cross, Tuesdays from 8:30 a.m. till 10 a.m., Thursdays from 5:30 till 7 p.m., and Saturdays from 8:30 till 9:30 a.m. In Pana, put your perishable food items in the donation barrels at the county market or at the food pantry office at 200 West 2nd Street on Mondays from 9 a.m. till noon, on Fridays from 3 till 5:30 p.m. And in Shelbyville, take your non-perishable food items to the First United Methodist Church, 205 West Main, Tuesday and Wednesdays from 9 a.m. till noon only. The Miller Media Group hopes you'll think of those less fortunate this holiday season in giving to these local food pantries during our 32nd annual Food for Families Drive. Thank you for caring and sharing this holiday season.
If you're 40 and over, you'll recognize these artists by their first names. Frank, Dean, Sammy, Andy, Nat, Diana, Michael. Well, here's the big news. You can now hear Central Illinois' largest music library with over 3,500 songs on air and online at 965thechill.com. Tune in on the FM dial in Christian County and on your computer or smartphone. Hear these great artists and many more 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 965thechill.com. Whether it's the Bailey Park Adult Community or the Hillcrest Park for all ages, both in Taylorville, they have a place for you and your manufactured home. Bring your own, or they'll sell you one. Find out more by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
The Shelby County Economic Development Corporation is here to help your business grow, fostering success, attracting investment, and building a stronger community. Learn more today at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back into WTIM, your information station, in the midst of our WTIM morning show with Dr. Ken Redfield, Professor Emeritus of Political Science from the University of Illinois. That first half, we're breaking down national election numbers, what went right, what went wrong in messaging on either side of these campaigns here. Let's talk a little bit about the incoming administration here. Appointments have been announced out there, some dropping outs, and some people accepting. Starting with appointments here, Dr. Redfield, what's on your mind?
Well, I think, the key things, the Attorney General obviously is important. We had to, put forth, Gates from Florida, and then he withdrew. And now we have Bondi, who's a two-time Attorney General, and we've got Rubio, who's has been a U.S. Senator for a long period of time, Secretary of State. These are important, positions, but the critical things are going to be in terms of inflation and particularly tariff policy, which the president is already talking about, both, using it substantively to change the nation's economy, also using it in foreign policy, threatening Mexico and Canada with big tariffs if they don't help with immigration and stopping the flow of illegal drugs. And so, the two people that are at Treasury and Commerce, Bassett and I think it's Lunknut, these are two very successful Wall Street, finance kinds of positions. And, that's going to be critical in terms of whether or not, the plans to fix the economy come out. So I expect those two, those positions are going to get confirmed. The president can do a lot with executive orders. And so, we're going to get a read pretty quickly on what's going on in terms of the ability to kind of shake things up as far as what's going on in immigration. Similarly, it's not so much who's the Homeland Security. Oh, that's Kristi Noem, from the governor from South Dakota. But, there's a key advisor, Stephen Miller, who was the architect of a lot of what the President Trump tried to do in his first term. And then the new person, who now his name is escaping me, that's going to be really in charge of implementing the border czar. We're going to get pretty quick reads on, what's going to happen there. Are we going to just focus on people with criminal backgrounds, people in jail? Are we going to start to move towards, more mass deportations? And there are lots of issues there. The other area people are going to see is health, and whether or not Bobby Kennedy as Health and Human Services, whether we're going to see some real changes. Because when you get to things like Medicare and Medicaid and things, those are things that, really people pay attention to. And the Affordable Care Act in terms, so there are areas where, we're going to get a sense of whether or not, they're going to be able to move, or whether, they're going to run into immediate problems because there's blowback in terms of trying to move too fast in healthcare, or, we'll see some big fights over particular people, but, he's going to get most of the key people he wants to try to take on his agenda, which is, stop inflow of migrants, deport people, fix inflation, and then have the United States presence out there trying to stop the wars in Ukraine and to deal with the situation in Gaza. Those will be the big, that's the big things that he wants to do, that he has to have a strong cabinet and support from Congress.
Yeah. Dr. Redfield, I got about an hour's worth of questions for you after that right there, but we are out of time. We are out of time right here. But
Sorry.
I know, not a problem. We always appreciate you coming in and keeping us informed here, Dr. Redfield. We're out of time, but thank you so much for taking the time today.
Certainly, anytime.
Absolutely. That's Professor Emeritus of Political Science from the University of Illinois, Dr. Kent Redfield, right here on the WTIM Morning Show. Thank you all for tuning in.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. A ceasefire agreed to by Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon has taken effect, and so far, it's been holding.